everyone, my name is Sherston Sanders and this is my FODMAP kitchen. So for those of you wondering what FODMAP stands for, FODMAP is an acronym for fermentable oligodimonosaccharides and polyols. Try saying that 5 times fast. So basically what a FODMAP is, it's a very short chain of carbohydrates. It's a type of sugar that if you have a GI disorder like IBS or gastroenteritis, your body cannot properly digest the FODMAP sugar, those highly fermentable sugars. And so the diet was created to better help people with those disorders to be able to eat foods that are low in those FODMAP sugars, hence the name Low FODMAP Diet. Basically what you're trying to do is balance the amount of the FODMAP sugar in your diet. So a really good analogy for this would be a scale. Say you have something highly concentrated, a high FODMAP, if you will, and that'll weigh about, let's pretend that it's about 50 grams. That's not how much it actually is. Let's just pretend that it's like a weight that says 50 grams on it. So that's pretty heavy compared to something with low concentrations, which might be, say, 10 grams. So this weighs a whole lot more. It's a lot more highly concentrated. But if you have a low amount, so if it's like really tiny, then it'll balance out with the low amount. In order for something with a high FODMAP to equal something with a low FODMAP, you'd have to have like 1 breadcrumb for breakfast, and humans need a whole lot more than that. So instead, you have to eat something with low concentrations of that sugar, like a banana or gluten-free bread. Unfortunately, what that means is that there's a very, 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 very long list of all the foods that you cannot eat, and it sucks. But what I'm going to show you is how to cook and still eat all of your favorite foods on this diet. About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with IBS, which stands for irritable bowel syndrome. It was probably one of the hardest moments of my life. All of my comfort foods were taken away, and I didn't know how to eat anymore because everything that I ate was gone. I couldn't eat. It took me until probably about 6 months ago to really figure out how to cook on this diet and be able to eat like a normal person. Because honestly, let's face it, you don't feel normal when you're trying to eat like a rabbit, right? You can't just eat lettuce and carrots and bananas your whole life. You want to eat pasta and cake, right? I missed cake a lot. And we're going to show you how. So definitely by far the 2 hardest things to eliminate for me were onions and garlic, because I really, really love Italian food and I don't really know how to cook without it. A good way around the system, per se, is to infuse oils. So I'm going to start with garlic, and we're probably going to need to use about 3 cloves, maybe 1 if it's really big. So you'll take just a few cloves of garlic. This one's really big, so I'm just going to use 2. I'm going to show you a really neat trick of how to peel your garlic so you're not just sitting there trying to rip the skin off and then get it all over your hands and trying to wipe it off into the trash and then your hands are all sticky. No, there's a better way. So I'm going to start with a clove of garlic, and what you're going to want to do is cut the end off. I like to call it the butt. It's this little hard piece right here. That's the very end where it attaches. And then this is the fun part. Take your knife, you want a large cutting knife, and you'll press it flat against the garlic, so where the garlic's on the cutting board and this is on top, and then you just, and then look, the skin, it just comes right off. No peeling necessary. So we're going to do that to both of our garlic cloves. So for the onion, you're going to start by cutting off the very top end and then the very bottom, so the bottom of your onion, if I can get it. There we go. And by cutting off both ends, the peel should come right off. If it doesn't, go ahead and peel off the very first layer of the onion. Onions have layers. There we go, all peeled. Isn't it pretty? So since we're just going to be putting it in the oil, we don't have to cut it very small. You can have some pretty big chunks. So you'll go ahead and like cut it, like say into quarters, and then just slice it or dice it, or any way you like it. And then at that point, the onion peels apart into a lot of smaller pieces, and these are about the size, well actually I'm gonna go ahead and cut these in half. That's about the size that you want to put in your oil. So I'm going to go ahead and, whoops, cut up the rest of my onion. You have your cut onion and your peeled garlic, and I ended up cutting up a whole lot more onion than I needed. I hope I don't need this much onion in my oil. That would be far too much. And then at this point you have two choices. If you're like me and you're lazy, you can just go ahead. I would recommend getting one of these bottles and filling it with olive oil. If you don't have a bottle with a spigot, I would maybe suggest a mason jar. But you'll just take it, and then you'll take your cloves and just pop them in there. Ta-da! And you let them sit for about 10 minutes. The longer they sit in there, the more flavorful the olive oil is going to get, so it'll taste more garlicky. And the same thing goes for the onions. You'll just take a jar like this, put the onion in it, just like the garlic, and let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. And then just keep it in there until the olive oil runs out, and at that point you're going to want to take it out and change it for some new garlic cloves or onion slices. If you don't like the idea of putting raw onion or garlic into your olive oil, you can roast it. In a medium saucepan, put a little bit of olive oil in the pan and turn your stove to about medium high and let the olive oil warm up. Is warm and has completely coated the base of the saucepan, this is when you're going to add your garlic cloves. And turn your heat up to high. My garlic was really big, so I cut it down into smaller chunks so it would be easier to cook. Roast them until they're about medium brown, so they'll be brown just around the edges and they'll be soft all the way through. Also make sure that your garlic doesn't burn on one side. Keep flipping them and stirring them around so they don't get overly brown. You want them to cook evenly all the way through. And if they do get a little brown, that's okay, that's normal. You just don't want to get them too burnt. Those look about done. So now we're going to take them off the heat and let them cool. To cook your onion, you will also start with a little bit of olive oil, and just like with the garlic, you'll want to get it warm to where it covers the entire surface of the pan. The pan is completely covered. Add a few slices of onion to the pan and set set your heat to medium-high. Cook them until they are golden brown and opaque. So once they turn see-through, where you can see through them, that means they're done. Stir them so that they don't burn. From the stove. Once your garlic and your onion are completely roasted and have thoroughly cooled, then you'll go ahead and you'll add them to, I've filled a couple mason jars with olive oil, and so you'll take your garlic and just put them in, and put them in, and then mine don't have lids, but I would recommend putting a lid on them just to keep them airtight and so they don't spill. And you'll just let them sit there for about 10 to 15 minutes, and again, the longer they sit, the more flavor is going to get into the olive oil. Another good way to get onion into your cooking besides infusing oils with them is you can use a green onion. It looks like this. It has a white onion part at the bottom, which is the actual onion, and then you have the spring onion, which is all the green part, and the green part is what you'll want. Where the white stops and where the green starts, that's where you're going to want to cut and put into your dishes. To cut your green onion, I've got about 4 here, and I've got them all lined up, and the white ends all about the same point. So I'm going to take them, I'm going to go a little ways past just to be on the safe side, and cut them right where they start to get skinny. Cut that part off, and these are also good. You can put these in the oils and they're good too. I'm just going to set those off to the side. And now for the green part, you'll gather all the green together. There's kind of a lot, and you'll just chop it real fine. You want them to be about 1/4 inch thick. Once your green onion is all cut, what I like to do is I just get a Ziploc bag, and this is all for me, so I'm going to use my hands. But if you're making it for other people, you probably just take your knife, scoop it on there, and pour it in. Put them all in a bag, and you can freeze them, and they'll stay good for, I don't know how long they're good for. I always use them before they go bad. Just close them up tight and then pop them in the freezer. And you can use them in whatever you want. You use them just like onion. They will be a little bit lighter of an onion taste, but you can use them just like onions in any other dish. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning how to infuse oils today. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'm going to show you guys how to make homemade French fries. Another good alternative for onions besides olive oil is you can use green onions. They look like this. They have a white part at the bottom